podcast where we talk about the most important issues happening around the world today. I'm your host Septiana. In today's episode, we are going to talk about something that many people don't often hear about on the news, but it's actually a big problem that affects billions of people, especially in poor and developing countries. It's called the global debt crisis. Basically, many countries are now struggling to pay back the money they borrowed, and the situation is getting worse. Some people even say it's the worst debt crisis in history. To help us understand this complicated topic in a simple way, I'm joined by two amazing guests. First, we have Sipra. She's an economist and a development consultant who has worked with organizations that give aid to countries that need help. Sipra, thank you for being here with us.
Thank you, Anna. I'm really glad to be the part of this conversation.
And our second guest is Juan Desimanola, a journalist from the World Observer. He's been reporting on global inequality and international debt for years. Welcome, Jonda.
Thanks, Anna. It is great to be here.
So, Sipra, let's start with this. I read in a report from the UNCTAD that the total debt of developing countries has reached $11.4 trillion. That's a massive number. What does this really mean and how did we get here?
That's a really great question, Anna. Yes, $11.4 trillion is a huge amount of money. But what's important is not just the number, it's what it means for real people. Many people, countries, places like Zambia, Sri Lanka, or Ghana have been borrowing money for years to build hospitals, roads, schools, and to pay for basic needs. These loans were often necessary because they didn't have enough income from taxes or export. Then during the COVID-19 pandemic, things got worse. Government had to borrow even more to buy vaccines, support people who lost their jobs, and keep their economies running. But now interest rates around the world has gone up. This means the cost of paying back those loans has increased too. Some countries are now spending more money just to pay the interest of their debt than they are on healthcare or education. That really worrying.
So, countries are still paying debts instead of helping their people?
Exactly. Imagine if you earned $100 a month and $30 of that had to go repay loans before you even bought food or paid rent. That's what's happening on a national level. It puts a huge amount of pressure on government, and it's the ordinary people who suffer the most.
Juan, you recently wrote about this and called it the worst debt crisis in history for poor countries. What really shocked you in your research?
One thing that really stayed with me was a statistic: more than half of the poorest country in the world now spend more than 10% of the national income just to pay back the debts. That's money that could be used to build no school or spray clean water, but instead it goes straight to banks or foreign lenders. It is like these countries are working hard but can move forward because they carrying a half big bag full debt. And it is not just number, it about real people who can get the healthcare they need or who have to drop out of school. Because the government can afford to help them, it is a very human crisis.
It's heartbreaking. Sipra, what about the role of big institutions like the IMF or World Bank? Aren't they supposed to help?
Yes, and they do help in some ways. During the pandemic, for example, the IMF gave out emergency loans and suspended some debt payments for a while. But many people believe this help is not enough. Also, the help sometimes comes with rules. Countries are told to spend less money on public services to qualify for loans. That's called austerity, and it can make things worse. For example, to reduce funding for hospitals or schools just to get a new loan. That doesn't help people in the long run. It can actually deepen poverty.
Juan, there's also this term people ask a lot, debt trap diplomacy. What does that mean and And who are these countries borrowing money from?
Good question. The trade diplomacy usually refers to a situation where a powerful country gives a loan with strings attached. So if the country can pay it back, the lender may take over important assets like a port or a railway. China is often mentioned in this context, but the truth is a lot of today's debt isn't just out to government, it is out to private companies. Right now, about 60% of low-income countries debt is held by private creditors like banks, investment fund, and hedge fund. These private lenders usually care more about profit than helping the country, and because there are no international law that forecast them to negative, for fairly many of these countries are stuck. They can even ask for better payment than because the lenders refuse to talk.
That sounds really unfair. So what's the solution, Sipra? What can we do?
One of the most important things is debt relief. That means reducing or canceling some of the debt so that countries can breathe again and focus on helping their people. But it has to be done in a fair and honest way. Right now, only a few lenders like rich country government are involved in relief efforts. Private lenders and some big institution doesn't always want to join in. We also need to change how we give help. Instead of giving loans that add more debt, rich countries and organizations could give grants money that doesn't need to be paid back or help countries with stronger economies, like investing in clean energy or digital infrastructure.
Juan, if someone is listening from a rich country and thinks, this doesn't affect me, what would you say to them?
I say this affects all of us. We poor countries fall deeper into debt. It creates global problems. People may flee their countries in search of work or safety. There could be more conflict, more disease, and more instability. And even from a moral point of view, it is not right for rich lenders to profit while poor countries are drowning in debt and unable to take care of their own citizens. We live in the one world, and we all have a responsibility to make the system fairer.
That's a powerful reminder. Before we end, I want to ask both of you what gives you hope.
I see hope in young people, students, activists, and new lenders who are questioning how the current system works. They are pushing for change, demanding justice, and coming up with new ideas for how the global economy can work better for everyone.
I feel the same way. People are starting to wake up and realize that this isn't just a financial issue, it is about fairness, human right, and the kind of world we want to live in. And when enough people care, change is possible.
Thank you both for being here today and helping us understand this important topic in such a clear way. To our listeners, thank you for tuning in. Remember, behind every number and every loan, there are real people. Let's stay informed, keep asking questions, and support effort to build a fairer and kinder world. Join us next time on Globalance. Take care and stay curious.